And for the last point, right, is legacy thinking, right? This is probably one of the greatest things that I can definitely, show my children is how to have a long-term approach to anything, right? Like, how do you want your children to be when they grow up? Going back to the example I gave you guys, why I started to pick up books. One, I didn't want to be on my phone so much. I didn't want my children to see me on my phone so much. But I also wanted my children to see that, hey, their father is somebody who's always learning. Their father is somebody that owns up to his mistakes, right? Their father is somebody that's ethical, right? One of the greatest things that I told my partner that we can teach our children is teach them how they can be virtuous, how they can be brave, right? How they can do the right thing when maybe everybody around them is doing all the wrong thing. How to teach them how they can do the hard thing when everybody around them tells them to do the difficult thing, right? To teach them, like, hey, what is the integral way that you want to live, right? You don't want to show them that you're lying, that you're stealing, that you're cheating to get ahead, right? You want to show them that, hey, mom and dad have to do whatever they need to do in order to get ahead, as long as it's ethical, and as long as it's ethical, righteous, and lawful, right? You want to show them that, hey, you have a culture of understanding other people, of understanding other situations, and you want to give them values that are going to last, right? That's why in this series, the Beyond the Solar series, we talk about freedom, right? We talk about financial freedom. We talk about physical freedom. We talk about mental and spiritual freedom, right? Because at the end of the day, we were put on this planet by our Creator to do and provide an incredible service for our fellow human beings. And you want to be able to showcase that to your children. I always say, right, that it doesn't matter what you leave your kids behind materialistically, but what truly matters is that you can empower your children, that they have the skill set and they have the tools necessary for them to be successful no matter in what times they live in. Doesn't matter what's going on, right? Doesn't matter what craziness is happening in the market or what's happening in your country, right? Whatever it is that you can withstand, you want to make sure that your children have the tools and the values to be able to carry them up, right? You want to make sure that you're teaching them the right thing. And this goes into leadership, right? One of the things that I talk about to my team is learn how to live on less, right? Sure, you're making money right now, but you never know. Things can change, businesses shut down, they open up, they shut down, it happens. It's a cycle. Obviously, I'm going to do everything I can to prevent that from my business and my team, right? But the best way that you can build a good insulation for yourself is to make sure that you have a long-term view on things. When it comes to business, I like to be extremely conservative, right? I like to think about, okay, well, how can I operate at the lowest possible cost while adding the most amount of value, right? And then I always like to think, well, how are things going to change? Because it's one thing that we know for sure is that nothing is constant. How are things going to be changing? How do you properly adapt, right? What are some new technologies that are coming your way? And overall, how long do you want to be in business? And I don't mean just you. I mean, what kind of legacy do you want to create, or do you want to leave behind for your children and your grandchildren, your great grandchildren? One of my goals that I have is that I want to be so impactful, right, that I can have, my great grandchildren reading about me, right? Where I can leave behind what my stories were in my journal, that I can be an inspiration to my children of the future, right? So then that way they can look to me and look to my mistakes to understand, maybe for some guidance in their lives. That's one of the things that I, look forward to when it comes to creating a legacy. Creating a legacy is not about just leaving them behind, money or, wealth or materialism. Those are all good. Hey, I do not knock it, right? But you want to make sure that the children that you are leaving behind, right, that they have the right tools, they have the right mindset, and most importantly, they have the right values that then they can carry on, right? Because remember, life is not forever, right? We won't live in eternity. I know it seems like with technology, we might be able to live longer, and I think that's true. But that's all the reason why we want to be able to work harder to be able to provide a legacy that our kids can follow, right? Work harder that we can be the example that we want them to be. Have the patience to understand that we're all human, right? And be humble enough to understand that nobody's greater and nobody's lesser than any other human being on this planet.